Greetings, grade 9s. Today we are going to be looking at how we prove congruency. Right. So you will see that in the previous quiz, you had question number 13 and 14, and you have been asked to prove congruency. So that is what we are going to go through. We are going to go through some more problems looking at proving of congruence. You see that question 13 and 14 are also in this particular video. Right, let's continue. Let's go on to look at this problem. So let's say you are given a problem. In this case, you are given A, B, C, D is a kite. They say 1, prove that triangle ADC is congruent to triangle ABC. Use 2 different methods. So here you are asked to use 2 different methods. I'm going to use one, and the other one I think it's a given. You can do that. Right, let's do this. So you say, remember you write in triangle ADC and triangle ABC. AD is equals to AB. Why? Because these are adjacent sides of a kite. Remember, a kite has got 2 pairs of adjacent sides that are equal. So here we took one of those, which is AD should be equals to AB because they are adjacent sides of a kite. And then we say AC is common, right? AC is common in the sense that you find the line AC being part of triangle ADC and being part of triangle ABC. So we say AC is common, so it's a common side, right? Right, and then we say DC is equals to BC. Again, this is what adjacent side of a kite. So 2 pairs of adjacent sides are equal, so we used both. So now we can conclude that triangle ADC is congruent to triangle ABC because of the condition side, side, side. So both sides are, all the sides are equal. All the corresponding sides are equal, making the triangles congruent. Now we go to question number 2. So here I will assume that you'll be able to do the other condition where you are going to use the angles. So the clue there is that if you look at the diagonal AC, it bisects the 2 angles. So angle A is bisected by the line AC, so is angle C. Right, let's move on to question 2. Question 2, they say show that AC bisects DCB. So we are going to say angle ACD is equal to angle ACB. Why? Because these are corresponding angles of identical triangles ADC and triangle ABC. So since those 2 are equal, it shows that the angle DCB is bisected by the diagonal or the line AC. You see that? Because those 2 angles are equal, which are corresponding angles of congruent triangles. Right, let's move on to another problem. Right, you see that this was, I think, question 13 in your quiz, which I asked you to submit as a PDF. Right, so in this particular diagram, we are given that PQRS is a parallelogram and TQUS is a rectangle. So we are going to use that information first to populate that information on the diagram, which can be then assist us in proving the questions there. So we are going to populate the diagram with the information given and the information we know about the shapes. So we are going to say TS is parallel to QU and TQ is parallel to T to SU. Why? Because these are opposite sides of a rectangle, right? 2 pairs of opposite sides are parallel in a rectangle. And then we say PQ is parallel to RS. These are opposite sides of a parallelogram. So we say PQ is parallel, right? PQ is parallel to RS. Why? Because those are the opposite sides of a parallelogram PQRS. So there you see we're using all the information given. They told us that PQRS is a parallelogram, and then they told us that TQUS is a rectangle. So we're using that properties of those shapes to fill in the diagram so that it can make sense to us once we start answering the question. Going on, further on, we can see that now we can go to the triangles and do the proofs. So the first one, number 1, right? Number 1, it says prove that triangle PQS and triangle RSQ are congruent. So always a clue is the way the letters are arranged. So without even thinking, you must know that angle P is going to correspond with angle R. Angle Q is going to correspond with angle S. And angle S is going to correspond with angle Q in the different triangles. So the arrangement of these letters is very, very crucial. So already you must know that this one will correspond with that one. Can you see? And this one will correspond with that one. And finally, we must also know that this one is corresponding with that. So it's a clue which every time you are given these letters, if they are arranged in that, it's a clue to show you that those given angles will be corresponding, but you have to prove it, right? So let's prove. So I'm going to say PQ is equal to RS. What is the reason for that? It's because opposite sides of a parallelogram side. And then QS is common, which is another side. And then PS is equals to QR. These are opposite sides of a parallelogram, another side. So I can conclude that triangle PQS is congruent to triangle RSQ. Can you see that? Because of side, side, side. Then I go to in triangle PTQ. So again, you must pay attention. P is going to correspond with R. And T is going to correspond with U. And finally, you must also know that this one, Q, is going to correspond with S. Do you see that? So if you say PT, you must know that it's going to be RU. If you say TQ, it's going to be US. They will correspond in that order. So already when they ask you this question, they have given you clues. So you make use of that. So we can say here, angle PTQ is equals to angle RUS. Both of them are equals to 90 degrees. Why? Because these are angles of a rectangle. Angles of a rectangle are always 90 degrees. So that is our right angle. And then PQ is equals to RS. Why? Because these are opposite sides of a parallelogram. And that is our hypotenuse. And then TQ is equals to SU. Why? Because these are opposite sides of a rectangle. Right? And then that is a side. So we can conclude that triangle PTQ is congruent to triangle RUS because of the condition RHS, which is right hypotenuse and another side. Do you see that? So it's very easy, and we are using the properties of all the lessons we were doing last week. If you don't know the geometry of straight lines, geometry of triangles, geometry of quadrilaterals, you will see that you will struggle. That's why you see I was very strict when I was saying we must learn those quizzes last week, which a lot of people didn't like anyway. Right, moving on. PQRS is a rhombus. Prove that triangle PQT is congruent to triangle PST. So first of all, we are going to use the information given. They tell us that it's a rhombus. So we are going to say all the sides should be rhombus. So I mark them so that it will help me when I start answering. So I say PQ is equals to PS, which is equals to QR, which is equals to RS. Those are the sides of a rhombus. And then you must also know that PR is perpendicular to QS. These are diagonals of a rhombus. They are at 90 degrees. And also, PT is equals to RT and QT is equals to ST. The reason being that diagonals of a rhombus bisect each other. Right, so there we go. Now, We also know that PS is parallel to QR and PQ is parallel to RS. These are opposite sides of a rhombus are parallel to each other. Do you see? That is all the information that we need. You populate it into a diagram so that now with that information, that's why they tell you it's a rhombus. They tell you for a purpose so that you must know that in this question we are going to be using the properties of a rhombus to solve the question. So I've populated all the properties of a rhombus. I've put them in there. Now I can now go and prove that triangle PQT is congruent to triangle PST. Remember the arrangement of the letters, it means corresponding also angles. So I'm going to say in triangle PQT and triangle PST, PQ is equals to PS. Why? Because these are sides of a rhombus are equal. So I write sides of a rhombus, side. And then PT is common because it's common to both triangles. And then QT is equals to ST. Why? Because diagonals bisect each other. So QT is equals to ST. Now I can conclude that triangle PQT is congruent to triangle PST because of SSS. So you see I forgot to put a triangle there, so I must put it. And then they say I must use all four conditions. So another condition is that I'm going to say in triangle PQT and triangle PST, I'm going to say PTQ is equals to PTS. Both are equals to 90 degrees. Why? Because diagonals are perpendicular to each other. They are 90 degrees. My right hand, my right 90 degree angle. And then PS is equals to PQ. Those are sides of a rhombus are equal at my hypotenuse. And then PT is common, my side. So now I can conclude that triangle PQT is congruent to triangle, right? Triangle PQT is congruent to triangle PST because of right angle, hypotenuse, and side, which we abbreviate RHS. Moving on. Now the last one, I'm calling this the last one because the third one you can make conclusion by taking some of the sides and everything that has been calculated already. Again, I say in triangle PQT and triangle PST, I'm going to say QPT, angle QPT is equals to angle SPT because these are what? Diagonals, right? Diagonals bisect the angles, right? You must know that the diagonals bisect the angles in a rhombus. And then PQT is equals to PST, angles facing equal sides. Can you see that? Angles facing equal sides, because now you can see PQS is an isosceles triangle. So I say angles facing equal sides are equal in a triangle. So that is another angle. And then I'm going to say PT is common, that is a side. So I can conclude that triangle PQT is congruent to triangle PST. Why? Because of angle, side. So the remaining condition, which is angle, side, you can use any one of those sides and angles to prove it. Do you see that? So easy stuff. It's like we're doing a grade 1 work. Moving on. Let's say you are given another problem. In this time you are given a diagram. They say the diagram here is an isosceles. So they say in an isosceles trapezium, the bases are equal. So you populate that. That is information which you've been given. So you populate that in the diagram. So I'm going to say first, since it is a trapezium, which means AB and FE or FC are parallel. So those are opposite sides of a trapezium are parallel. And then they tell us that the base angles are equal. So I'm going to say AFE is